Welcome to the next session of Strength of Materials. In this session, we are discussing about limitation of Euler's theory. We'll start with a small concept of slenderness ratio. The ratio of effective length of a column to the least radius of gyration of a column is called as slenderness ratio. It is indicated by the symbol lambda. So I can say the slenderness ratio is effective length that we have already discussed in the previous class to the least radius of gyration. You are already aware about this concept of radius of gyration. So we are taking the least value of radius of gyration. So I can say lambda is equal to LE upon K. Now we have seen that LE is going to be measured in say meter or mm, and radius of gyration also has the unit of either mm or meter. So here you can see the units cancel out and lambda has no unit, or you can say it is unitless term. Now we will see what is the significance of this slenderness ratio. It is used extensively for finding out the design load as well as in classifying various columns into short, medium or long. If you know this ratio or you know this value of lambda, which is LE by K for a particular column, then you can either say it is short or medium or it's a long column. And it is also used for calculating the design load of a system. The slenderness ratio of a column gives an indication of buckling failure in the column. Now, if a column is very slender, which means if it is quite tall or its height is quite greater as compared to its width, then we can say that the column is tall and it is long and it is going to fail under buckling. More the slenderness ratio, more is the tendency of a column to fail by buckling effect in that direction. So suppose if I have more value of LE, LE is this height. So if this effective length is more, then lambda value is going to be more. So if the slenderness ratio increases, the tendency of the column to fail by buckling effect is going to increase, as we can see here. Similarly, if the value of K reduces, then we can say that lambda value again increases. So in case if you have this value of K, radius of gyration, we are already aware of the formula for this. I know I is equal to AK square. We also know that K is equal to root of I upon K. So suppose if I say that the cross section is circular, then here this formula will be pi by 64 d raised to 4 for I, and area's formula is pi by 4 d square. So these get cancelled out and what remains is root of, this is d square upon 16. So this will be d by 4, which is a value of K for a cross section which is circular, or I would say it's a solid kind of a column. So if this value of diameter reduces, that is how this value of K is going to be less. And when the value of K is less, the lambda value increases. So when this ratio value increases, we can say that the column is becoming more slender. It is quite heighted, that is the height is more and the width is lower. And that is how it is going to fail under buckling. Now, structural engineers generally consider a skyscraper as slender if the height to width ratio exceeds 1:1. You can see this is the height and this is the width. This is just a ratio given and you can just multiply with the factor and you can actually see the total height of the skyscraper, or it could be 12:1. So when you cross this limit of slenderness ratio, you can say that your structure is a skyscraper. Tall buildings with high slenderness ratio are sometimes also referred as pencil towers. That means the height is quite greater as compared to the width. Now we need to understand that if a column is quite tall, or rather a building is quite tall as compared to its width, then in that case those buildings will become structurally weak if additional attachments are not given to it, because they will then have a frequency of vibration which will match with the frequency of the wind around it, and the building can start swaying. So this kind of a structure can then start swaying like this. So this is a side effect of long buildings. So when we design a long building, we have to check the slenderness ratio, and accordingly we have to design the load such that the buckling failure doesn't happen. Also, the building doesn't get affected by the wind effect surrounding it. Next, we'll talk about crippling or critical stress in terms of effective length and radius of gyration. We know the formula for crippling load or critical load, as you can call it, is PE is pi square EI upon LE square. Also, we know the formula for moment of inertia in terms of radius of gyration is I is AK square. Now, when I substitute this I value over here, I get therefore PE is equal to pi square E into AK square upon LE square. When I bring this k down, this becomes pi square E into A upon LE by K the whole square. This is the formula of PE. Now, let's talk about critical stress or the crippling stress. The formula will be PE upon the cross section area. Now, the formula for PE that we just got was pi square EA upon LE by K the whole square, and this area is also to be taken. So this area gets cancelled, and what remains for crippling stress sigma CR is pi square E upon LE by K the whole square. So this can also be written as pi square E upon lambda square. This is the formula of crippling stress in terms of LE and K, or you can write in terms of lambda, which is slenderness ratio. At this point also, we can change this as pi square EA upon lambda square if we want to. Next, let's talk about limitation of Euler's formula. Now, we are already aware of the major limitation of Euler's formula, that is, Euler has given the formula only for long columns. And when he is talking only about long columns, such kind of columns will fail under buckling only. There will be no effect of direct stress. That is, no compressive stress or crushing can happen in these kind of columns. So we are effectively not talking about short columns, wherein the failure happens because of crushing or compressive load, as you can call it. So by Euler's formula, we know PE is equal to pi square EI upon LE square. This I that is to be taken is I minimum. Now we are aware that for moment of inertia along x and y axis is what we can calculate. Amongst these two, one value is minimum and the other is maximum. So here we are supposed to take the minimum out of these two values. Now again I'm going to write down the same formula that I just wrote. I is equal to AK min square. Let's substitute. I get PE is equal to this is what I'll get. Now let's take the K in the denominator. So I get LE upon K min the whole square. This is PE. Now let's take this area here. I get PE upon A. Now let's call this PE upon A as sigma CR. So I get therefore sigma CR is pi square E upon LE by K min the whole square. Now this is the formula for sigma CR. Now we need to understand that our column is failing under buckling effect because it's long. So when you have a buckling effect, your column will fail under this critical stress, but it will never fail under sigma C, which is the ultimate compressive stress. So I can say that since column is long and fails under buckling only, therefore this sigma CR will be less than sigma C. Now I can also write this as less than equal to. So here the sigma CR is pi square E upon LE by K min, the whole square, is less than equal to sigma C. Now let me multiply this here on the right hand side and I'll take the sigma C below. So I get therefore pi square E upon sigma C is less than equal to LE upon K min, the whole square. Now I will just rewrite this equation by taking LE upon K min, the whole square, on the left hand side, which was, if you can observe, this term is greater than equal to this term. So I'll write here, this is greater than equal to pi square E upon sigma C. So I can see therefore LE upon K min is greater than equal to, I'll take the square on the other side. So this becomes root of pi square E upon sigma C. Therefore LE upon K min is greater than equal to pi root of E upon sigma C. This term comes out of the root and these two remain in the root. So this is what is going to happen. Now let's take up some examples. Like if I talk about mild steel, for this the value of E is say 210 kilonewton per mm square and sigma C value is 0.33 kilonewton per mm square. When I substitute both over here, I get LE upon K min is greater than equal to pi root of 210 upon 0.33. On solving, I'll get LE upon K min is greater than equal to 79.25, that is approximately 80. Let's take up another example. Say if I'm talking about cast iron. For cast iron, the value of E is 100 kilonewton per mm square and the value of sigma C is 0.55 kilonewton per mm square. When I substitute, I'll get LE upon K min is greater than equal to pi root of 100 upon 0.55. When I solve the right hand side, I get LE upon K minimum. It should be greater than equal to 42.36, which is approximately say 42. Now what does these two values mean? This shows that Euler's formula will be valid for mild steel when this value of LE by K min, that is lambda, is greater than equal to 80, and here for cast iron when this value of lambda is again greater than equal to 42, then you can apply Euler's formula and you can say that when the slenderness ratio is more than 42 for cast iron, my column is long and this can now be used for designing of the critical load such that my column doesn't buckle. And you can understand the same for mild steel. So if I am supposed to design a column which contains mild steel, I will be checking its slenderness ratio. If it is greater than 80, then according to Euler's formula, this will fall under long column and accordingly I'll have to design my column, the load basically I have to design such that it doesn't buckle. So with this I end this session on Euler's limitation. In the next session we will be discussing a numerical on this topic. If you have any doubts, please write to me in the comment section. See you in the next session. Thank you.